Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. As many of you, well, any of you that watch my channel or subscribe to my channel know, I love to find new and different ways to use my dies. And my challenge today was to use all Crafter's Companion um, things, items, stamps, dies, cardstock, whatever, to make a Disney themed shadow box. I've been looking on Creative Fabrica and Pinterest, and I saw all these Disney themed shadow boxes, and I am a huge Disney fan. And thought, well, you know what? I have all of this Crafter's Companion goodies. I want to see if I could make a Crafter's Companion, use all my Crafter's Companion things to make a Disney shadow box. So that's what I did. So I've got Up, the movie Up, which is one of my favorites. And I've got Tinkerbell, and I've got Mary Poppins, and I've got Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and Simba from The Lion King, and Cinderella in her castle with the coach, and Ariel. So it's all of my, actually, it's all of my favorite Disney movies. And I was able to find things that worked in my Crafter's Companion stash to make this shadow box. So let me show you how it's done. All right, so to put this all together, I'm going to start with a piece of 12 by 12 paper, and then I've cut 4 strips of black card. They're 3.5 by 12, and I'm going to create essentially a frame. And so I've scored all 4 of them at 1 inch, 1.5, 2.5, and 3, and that creates a little frame piece. So my 1/4 inch glue tab. So when I glue that together, it'll create my little frame piece that's 1 inch high and 1/2 inch wide. And that's what I want, because I'm going to put that around each of the sides. Now I want to miter the corners. So I've got one already glued up. And to miter the corners, you need to cut an angle so that when this wraps around that, you get that nice mitered corner right there. Because if you don't cut it, then you'd have to cut it short and basically take one and just put it like this. And then you don't have a nice mitered corner, and the end is just open. But when you miter that corner, wrap it around there. I don't know if you can see that, but see, the end is covered. Looks good on the end, and it looks really good on the top. So we're going to put this down, and then we're going to put this one around it and glue it just like that. Okay, so I'll show you how to miter the corners. So this one I've scored and I've already burnished, and this one I've scored and burnished as well. But where is it? It's this one. So if you look at this, it's going to be 1/2 inch on that top. So on the 1/2 inch piece, I want to come in 1/2 inch because it's got to make that angle, and then go straight down. And that way, when you wrap it around, you have that nice corner. So it's those pieces. So, and then I also cut a little 1/2 inch piece off the gluing tab so that when this comes down, that tab isn't sticking up. So what I did to do this is you lay it flat and you take your ruler and you measure in, and I don't know if you can see my little pencil marks, but you measure in on that 1/2 inch piece to a 1/2 inch and put a little mark, and then measure a 1/2 inch down at that bottom, and same on this side. So a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch, and you can draw it if you want, but it's pretty easy to follow. And then you're going to cut from this fold line into that 1/2 inch mark, and then straight down. So I'm going to turn it around because it's easier to cut. And you're just going to take that piece out. And then while I'm here, I'm going to cut my little glue tab 1/2 inch off too. And that doesn't have to be a pretty cut because it's not going to show it's on the bottom anyway. But, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. So we're going to go from this fold, we're going to cut at an angle to that 1/2 inch mark. And then we're going to cut up from there straight up to that mark. Take that tab out, and then I'm going to cut my little 1/2 inch or about out of my glue tab. Doesn't have to be exact. All right. And then you can glue the straight pieces, the uncut ones, but don't glue, well, I guess we could probably glue the cut ones. So the easiest way to glue these is to go ahead and get your tacky glue and put glue or adhesive. You can use red liner tape or whatever you want to use, but I just use tacky glue. And put it down on that 1/4 inch glue tab. And you can make that wider if you want, but you don't have to. And then take the fold line and just fold it over, and it'll fold flat. And you can just rub it from both sides to get that glue to grab. And then it'll go right back the way you want it. There's 2. Now let's see if I go ahead and glue these. Yeah, I think I can go ahead and glue them. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on these. Usually I would wait and put it together, but I think I can do it. It's a little bit easier to glue when they're flat. And same thing, just flatten it out and rub. And then you can see that this is just going to fit right together like that to make your mitered corner. So let me glue the other one. There we go. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and glue this together and glue it onto my 12 by 12, and I'm just going to put it right to the edge of the 12 by 12, and then that way, if I put it on the edge of the 12 by 12, I can get it nice and square. So we'll go ahead, pick your best side to go down. I usually try to put the side with the glue tab on the bottom. And I'm using this glue instead of the other because it's a little bit thicker and it actually gives you a little more maneuverability time. It doesn't grab quite as quick. So we're going to lay that down right at the edge. And you can use that bottom 12 by 12 sheet to get it nice and straight. And you can use this method to make a frame of any size. All you have to do is think about how high you want it. So how much this way, this way, this way. And then just create your little tube and do the same cut, but you want to cut in your angle, whatever the width of the top is. And we're going to put this in, and I want to put glue on the bottom here and right here because these pieces, these top pieces are going to glue onto there. But yeah, you can use this method to make a frame any width, any height, and of any size. It's just solely dependent on how big a paper you have. honestly. Like I said, you got to get it underneath that other one. Which is why you want the little bit of wiggle time with the glue. You don't want instant grab, so red liner tape in this instance would be a little difficult. And once you get it all lined up, make sure it's nice and square. And then you can take your quick grab glue and you want to put some glue right here in this corner. To hold those corners together. And spin it around, do the same thing on the other side. All right, well, while I'm holding that, I'm going to show you some of the pieces that I made. So, here's all of the various pieces that I have that are going to go into my shadow box. So I made an Ariel. It's not really Ariel, but I wanted to use all Crafter's Companion dies and stamps. So this is the mermaid stamp from this stamp set. Let's see, white. I have that stamp set. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's something about making waves, but anyway, it's an old mermaid stamp, and so I used that, colored it to make it look like Ariel. Then I used one of the fairies. This is the fairy from one of the Fairy Glade Build a Scene collection, and I just colored her to make her look like Tinkerbell. Then I love the movie Up, and so I used, this is actually the stamp and die from the Staycation beach set, and I cut the porch off to make it a little bit smaller. And then these are the balloons. This is a balloon die from one of the Zedfold Build a Scene Party Time, the one with the balloon arch, and it has a single balloon die. And I used that, and I just cut a bunch of balloons, obviously, and attached them to the house to make it look like Up. Then I have a rose stamp and die from, it's actually from one of the advent calendars, but I thought it was just about the perfect size. And to make the little sort of appearance of the little cloche, or whatever you call that, the little dome that the rose is in, I just cut a little dome essentially out of vellum, put a little bit of brown ink on the bottom to make it look a little bit like a wood stand. And that's my rose cloche. And then you probably recognize this. This is the die from Once Upon a Time. And I just colored it in the yellow and the brown hair to make her look like Belle from Beauty and the Beast to go with my little rose cloche. Then I have Simba from The Lion King. And this is from the Savannah Build a Scene set. And it comes in like with the lion on the little rock. And I just cut this and colored it to make the rock formation a little bit bigger to make it fit in what I wanted it to be. Then this is also from Once Upon a Time, the little dancing princess set to make colored like Cinderella and her prince. And then I used the zigzag scenes with the castle and the horse and carriage to make Cinderella's castle. Then this one I'm very impressed with myself on. So I wanted to make Mary Poppins, and I could not find anything that looked like Mary Poppins in my Crafter's Companion stash. So what did I find? Let me find the die that I used. Where did I put it? Oh, I already put it back. So I used the die from the True Love collection box, this one, which came with the Gemini 2 on HSN as with the auto ship. And I used this die, which is from the little couple that, you know, create the heart with their arms. And this is my Mary Poppins. So I don't know if you can see, but I cut her out, and then I cut her hair off, and I cut her upper arm off. So I just used my scissors and trimmed here to here and there to there to cut her hair off, because Mary Poppins didn't have long hair. She always had her hair in a bun. And then she's flying, right, with her umbrella, so she had to have her umbrella. So the umbrella that fit the best size-wise, this is the beach umbrella from the Staycation Beach set. And I just cut it out of black and put it on there. I had lots of umbrellas, dies, but they were all too big. Like there's one from Color Your World, there's one from Spring is in the Air, there's a bunch of them, but they were all too big. And that beach umbrella was perfect. And I mean, it looks a little bit like a beach umbrella, but that's okay. And then I just glued it to the back of her. And then she has to have her little magic bag. And I just cut that myself, because I just, you know, used my scissors and cut a little thing and glued it on. And it's a silhouette anyway, so it looked fine. Then for the background, I just took a piece of this paper that I had in my stash, and it's kind of a blue and white mottled background. I thought, that kind of looks like the sky. And I wanted fireworks, and I couldn't find anything. And I found some fireworks dies that I had. They're from, they're actually Stampin' Up! Dies, and so I cut the fireworks, and then I inked on the back of a piece of white, around a piece of white paper, just with my metallic inks, the Midas metallic inks, and blue, red, and gold, and glued on the top, on the back, so that the color kind of shows through, because my intention is maybe to put a light behind it, and I wanted the light to shine through, so I left it like that. And then to go on top, you know, you got to have Mickey, right? So that's going to go in there. And then I took a piece of paper that's 11 by 11, so it's going to fit right inside of there. And I could have done 12 by 12, actually, now that I think about it, and covered up that whole frame. And I might just do that. But anyway, it's going to go in there. And all I did was I took circle nesting dies, and I put one here and drew around it with some scissors, or with a pencil, and or you can cut it on your, if you want, but I found it easier just to draw around. And then I took this, a smaller one here, drew around it there, drew around it, and then used my scissors to cut out. And here's the piece that I cut out, and I'll tell you how big my nesting dies were. So the biggest one was 7.5, and I don't have Crafter's Companion circle nesting dies that big. So these are Chloe dies, and that's a 4-inch die, and this is a 4-inch die. So 7.5, 4, 4 is what the ratio I used. I think ratio-wise, the ears should actually be a little bit bigger and more oval shaped, but I didn't have room in my square shadow box, so that's the size that I went with. And I'm just going to put this in like this, and then I'm going to use foam tape to mount that up to make it, you know, taller and give it dimension. And then this is going to be on the top layer, and then all the pieces are going to go in. So let's start just putting it together. So we're going to start with this one, and I'm just going to, actually I am going to raise it up a little bit in case I want to put lights behind it. So that's dry. Let me set it off to the side. So if I want to put lights in from the back, I'm going to put just a little bit, use my craft knife and just cut a hole in the back. so that you can get the lights in and out from behind. If you're not going to put lights in it, you don't need to worry about that, but I'm going to do that just in case I decide I want to put lights in. Okay. Now this piece is only 10.5 by 10.5, so I'm going to have to put it down at the bottom because I cut it 1/2 inch too small. But it's going to be hidden anyway, so it doesn't matter. You got a little bit of room, you can poke lights through in here if you want to. Now, all right, so the first layer that's going to go in is the castle. It's going to go right down in the front. I put 2 layers of foam tape on that just because I want it a little bit higher. So if you don't have, this foam tape's fairly thick, but it's not as thick as I want. I'm going to go just a little bit higher. Double layer it. Okay. And this is going to go right down at the bottom in the middle. Just like that. Now, the carriage is going to go right on here. I think I'll put it underneath. So I am just going to glue this onto here, just like that. And I think it'll be fine. That looks pretty good. And then you can keep putting your Mickey over the top just to make sure that you get everything where you want it. Okay. So then the next thing that's going to go in, I'm going to put my Simba, and he's going to go kind of here. I'm going to use a little bit lower foam pads because I actually want him in the back behind. So I'm just going to use 1 row, and I have these small ones. But I didn't want to put him in first because I didn't know exactly where I wanted him until I get the castle in there. So sometimes you have to kind of work in one direction and then, okay. I wanted him under there, but right about there, I think. Now before I push it down, I'll put this in. Yep, that looks pretty good. So see, that's going to be right there. So that looks good. Now, my Cinderella and Prince Charming are going to be in front of the castle. And I think I'll just use these little ones and do a couple layers. Nice and skinny ones. And then for his legs, since they're so thin, I think I'm just going to use some 3D glue gel. I'm going to put them right here in front of the castle. Okay. Get this on. See where I want the next thing. My up house is actually going to be on the outside of my Mickey frame. Actually, I might carry that all the way out. I think I will. But she's going to be there. So let me get her. I'll just use 3D glue gel. Actually, you know what I think I will use a combination of some foam pads. Because I want her fairly raised up. So I'm going to put my 3D glue gel on top of my foam pad. She's going to go right there. Okay. Tinkerbell is going to go on there. So she can go on there flat. I left her wing loose so it kind of lifts up. Belle's going to go, well, let's see, put my up house up there. Maybe it's going to go up there. It's going to be flying out of the frame. No, I'm not going to put that on yet. Belle's going to be, see, Ariel's going to be down here. Where do I want Ariel over here? No, I want Ariel over there. I think Belle's going to be down here with her rose. Maybe I'll put her rose there and put her more like that. Yeah, I think so. Okay. So then this is just the fun of decorating and deciding where you want to put stuff. Since this is vellum, I put the glue behind where the rose is. And then Belle's gonna be on here like that. Ariel's going to be on here. And my up house is going to be flying along about there. So I'm going to put some glue just on these upper balloons. I want it right about there. Now on these, remember, I have to put extra layers because this bottom half is already raised up 2. So I got to have at least 2 additional on each of those pieces. What I think I will do is put a little bit of wet glue on the foam tape so that I do have perhaps a minute or 2 in case I decide I want to move anything. Okay. Slide this back in here. I'm going to carefully flip it over, and I'm going to start at the top. I'm glad I put a little bit of that wet glue on because it gives me a minute. Oh, my glass mat was dirty. There. Oh, I love that. Came out really nice. I'm really happy with that. Unfortunately, I had glue on my glass mat. Now that's on my black cardstock. Shoot. Hopefully it's just wet and I'll be able to get that off. Otherwise, I might have to put some, when I do things like that, what I do is I'll put some glitter or get my sparkle pen and kind of make like, use my sparkle pen to make little stars or something. So they don't, so it doesn't show so much. And this came unglued. Okay, that's all done. There's my Disney themed shadow box made from 99% Crafter's Companion goods. Everything except for this blue cardstock and the fireworks dies is Crafter's Companion. All the other cardstock, all the other dies and stamps and everything is Crafter's Companion, but it looks pretty Disney-ish to me. So anyway, hope you like that, and learned how to make a box frame and a shadow box and how to use your Crafter's Companion dies in a new and different way. All right, enjoy. Thanks. Bye.